This is Friday, May 8th. Meeting of the Berlin Board of Health. As a preliminary matter, please, I'm going to try and fly through this. As a preliminary matter, please note that this meeting is being recorded and some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Confirm member access. This is Paul McKelk, Chair of the Board of Health. Please permit me to call all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Board of Health members, Sue Rivera.
Here.
Bob Wheeler.
Present.
Paul McKelk, present. Ancillary people, we have Chief Tom Galvin.
Here.
And Leanne Leahy, who's assisting us with the meeting.
Here.
Other than us, I don't have any anticipated speakers. The open meeting of the Berlin Board of Health is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to this current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Berlin website at www.townofberlin.com. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement for open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, provided reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberation of the meetings. While no in-person attendance of members in the public is permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. The standard public comment portion of this meeting will accommodate limited public comment. For this meeting, the Berlin Board of Health is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, identifying how the public may join. The public is engaged to follow along during this meeting using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Supporting materials that are available this morning to members of the Board of Health can be made available to the public by request. We are now turning to the first agenda on the item. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to assure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite each council member by name, each board member by name, to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with each other, please do so through me taking care to identify yourself. Excuse me, to the extent that our technical capability allows, public comment will be permitted during the public comment portion of this meeting as follows. Attendees' phones and other devices will be muted unless and until they raise their hand and are recognized by me to speak. I ask each member of the public who wishes to speak to identify their name, and I will afford each speaker time to ask a question or make a brief comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. At this time, I would officially open Friday, May 8th, Board of Health meeting. The primary purpose of this meeting is for the Board of Health to grant grant permission and enlist help from the Berlin Police Department relative to the requirements of wearing masks, et cetera, and anything else associated with the COVID-19, I'll say disaster, and to ensure that the public health is maintained to its maximum, whether the public likes it or not. My editorial comment, sorry. I will read an official letter. This came from, I'm presuming, the state, but it addresses what we're talking about. It says, "Dear Chief Galvin, the Berlin Board of Health, given the unprecedented need for community outreach and enforcement during the COVID-19 pandemic, we are communicating the Board of Health's decision on May 8th to designate all sworn officers, supervisors, and commanders of the Berlin Police Department as agents of the Board of Health. The Board of Health has this authority under GLC 111 S30. This appointment will be for the duration of the state of emergency pertaining to COVID-19 or until rescinded by the Board of Health, whichever happens first. As agents, you will be able to engage all public outreach, enforcement, mitigation activities that our existing staff can perform. To have its office function effectively in this role, the Berlin Police Department agrees to consult with the Board of Health to be guided by its regulations during public health activities and to document and forward reports within 2 days to the Board of Health. As always, we look forward to our collaboration to keep our citizens safe during this current emergency." Now, before I approach the other board members, I'd ask the chief, is this sufficient for your needs?
I think it is. My only question would be, in that directive from the governor had fines up to $300 when we looked at masks. Would it be in your prerogative with this letter, including allow me to come up with a fine structure so that if we were to warnings, a $50 fine for a second, warning first offense, $50 fine, second offense, 150, and then 300, without specifically having to put that in the letter?
Let me poll the other members. Personally, I have no problem with that. Bobby?
I have no problem with that, Chief.
I have no problem, and I'll put it in the meeting minutes of the fine structure that, the board has recommended that you kind of go with that, which is in line with all the other towns that are doing it. So
Right. Yeah. I don't foresee us writing any or many, but to have that as a tool, and I think to have a guide versus rushing out and writing tickets for $300 right away, I think would be a little draconian.
Right. Will your officers be giving out verbal warnings, written warnings, or anything along those lines?
I think it will depend on the situation, similar to what we do with traffic tickets.
Okay.
So a lot of times a verbal warning will suffice. And then we would document that in our log as like the first offense and a verbal warning. Sometimes it takes people, they need to have a piece of paper in their hand to help get the message across. And then that would be a written warning. But what I've also done yesterday actually is every police car now has a package. We started out with 10 masks per car that they can hand someone a mask if they don't have it.
Okay.
It may even get to that verbal warning stage. It's mask to go in. Someone says they don't have it. Here's the mask, and we move on.
I would imagine sooner or later, if reality of what occasionally transpires at the transfer station, we get some residents that are rather, let's just say, edgy about all this and don't really have an appropriate social response that could be repeated at this meeting. I personally would be open to giving those kind of folks a more than gentle nudge, maybe not necessarily a fine, but hey, we're serious here, folks. I mean,
Right.
we're doing our job.
And what they, we can help them understand if we get into those situations is, you as a board could issue them a no trespass order to the transfer station.
Okay,
And they could lose their privilege of utilizing it. So, that's another tool that would be in the arsenal should we move forward and need to do things.
good thought.
Pete loves to remove the stickers from their vehicles. This is not a new thing for him, so
Right,
you're
but-
glad he takes
don't
your
want-
sticker away.
Right, but I think as we see and as society continues to reopen, masks. I went to Lowe's last night, for example, after work, and there were 2 people I saw in the entire store that didn't have masks versus Sunday when I went there, and Sunday was chaos in that store. So I was, I think people are getting the message. We're going to run into some people that have health issues or claim they have health issues.
Mhm.
We have limited ability to ask what those are and look into that. But I think that's going to be the minority. And I think as we continue to move forward, week 1 may be a little bit tough. Week 2 is going to be better. By week 3, it hopefully will be a non-issue.
Excellent. I see Margaret. Do you have any, good morning. Do you have any comments or additions to what we've been discussing so far?
No, I don't. I completely support what the Board of Health is trying to do, and I appreciate that the chief is willing to now take on the enforcement piece of this.
And let it be stated that the Board of Health truly appreciates the chief and his department's cooperation with this. These are unusual times, and we all have to circle the wagon, so to speak.
And he does it with a smile.
I did catch him not smiling at one point yesterday morning, but it was very brief.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint the Berlin Police Department as agents to the Berlin Board of Health for the duration of the state of emergency to assist in enforcement of social distancing and the wearing of face coverings.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, and we'll do a roll call. Start with you, Bobby.
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Paul is also an aye, so it's unanimous. I will get one of these signed letters to you, Chief, before noon time.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I'll get the info out to all the officers now.
I'm wondering if we should make another copy, laminate it, and put it down at the transfer station.
I think that would be helpful to be able to.
This is a public awareness sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's something I'll probably make copies of, and I'll let each officer keep it in the car.
Good idea also, yes. Yes, Margaret.
May I just ask a question? I'm sorry, I was detoured for a second there.
Multitasking, were you?
Was the vote in accordance with the non-criminal disposition statute? I just want to be sure that that's covered because that would mean the difference between the civil citations and the criminal citations, as long as it was under that statute.
The
That is-
statute was noted in the letter that Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, terrific. As long as that's memorialized. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
On top of it.
okay. Chief, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I said just briefly, in light of the federal court decision yesterday, allowing the opening of gun sales. I had a discussion last night with Rich Gilbert at Cabela's. Their intention is to open with the noontime tomorrow, which is what was mentioned at that goes into effect at 12 noon on Saturday. They've been very good to work with, and I know, Paul, you've dealt with them and talked with them about some of the issues as we've gone on.
Yes.
They prior to shutting down had some pretty good restrictions on the store with like allowing only like 40 or 60 people in the building, and they have about 90,000 square feet. The discussions I had with him yesterday were about like roping off the clothing sections and the footwear sections and all that stuff, so we don't get people walking around trying to try on clothing and do those type of things. But I think he was looking for a little more guidance. He was going to put in the restrictions on the number of people in the store and how they manage things. I think one thing we're fortunate is he has been promoted, and he's also now the general manager of the Scarborough main store. and have already begun their reopening of retail establishments. So he's got some pretty good protocols in place that he can apply here as well. And I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts, to give him some feedback to say, hey, listen, this is what the board would like to see as you move forward with this opening, knowing full well that they're ruling, it gives the states till the 28th of May to rebut, and they could close them down again.
If you could clarify for me, it almost sounds like your conversation with him, any wearable items were not going to be available for sale?
Correct. Yeah, they did, like they said, they don't want anything, people walking around the store and contaminating.
Touching this or that and trying
Yeah.
something on. Okay.
I think I kind of look at it like these other stores that are open, your Walmarts that have groceries that are allowing some sale, that they have their purpose, their initial purpose, but that they're allowing some sales of other items, but they want to restrict, really restrict those items to, hard packaged items that people could get in and out quickly and
I see. Okay.
not.
And is that something they, in your conversation with him, do you give any indication that they will self-police that?
I believe so, and I just go back to what they did when these restrictions first started going into place, and they had limited the people inside the store. They had staff members at the doors, and he really wants to do it the right way. So I think if I talk to him about self-policing and making sure that this doesn't become a free-for-all, it's going to be important to him because he doesn't want to upset the apple cart and end up losing any privilege that they may gain through this court ruling.
I know in the conversation I had with him some weeks ago about the sale of boats or the completion of the sale and all that, that he seemed like a very reasonable, level-headed fellow whose feet were on the ground relative to this and understands the ups and downs of it. So whatever conversations you have with him, I think are fine. If there's anything drastically different, just let us know.
Okay. I will do that. I told him I'd be in touch with him by noon today. And so I will talk to him. I'll pass it on. And if there's any concerns, I will, he and I have talked about twice a week anyways, as we move through this.
Okay.
Any concerns, I'll reach out to you, and let you guys know. But I don't foresee any issues. They like I said, we're very fortunate that he's already had the experiences that they've had in Maine with reopening. So he understands, the privilege it is to be able to do that and to do it the right way and do it responsibly.
Right. Sue, were you raising your hand?
Yes. Does anybody know if the Berlin Country Club is intending on opening their greens?
I believe they are open today.
Okay.
Oh.
I went back and reread all the rules on that last night, and
Yeah,
So
I figured I would after this, I would pop through, and I know a couple of the officers will pop through just to make sure that the clubhouse is locked up and that they're not opening up for those type of sales as well.
all right.
Okay. Well, we've covered the primary function of this meeting. Do we have any outstanding comments relative to the subject matter? Bobby?
Do we have to vote on Cabela's? We didn't need a vote when they close. We just, there's no vote to allow them to open, right, Paul? It's the rule, it's a ruling of it's okay, as far as I'm concerned. It's just the chief would know that, I suppose.
Yeah,
We never voted to close them. It was the state. Right.
I really don't know if a vote is required. We could certainly take a vote, and if it's okay with the chief, we would take a vote that he would be the main contact with Rich Gilbert in terms of communicating any concerns the town has.
Sure.
Because the police department are now definitely, we're joined at the hip in terms of how we all make this work. So, right hand, left hand right now doesn't make much difference.
What I may recommend is that if you were to vote, that it would be a vote to abide by the federal court ruling to allow gun retailers to open, and that should we get any subsequent guidance from the state on this, because they could release something throughout the day today,
Sure, yeah, yeah.
that I would utilize that guidance to make sure that Cabela's opening conforms with state guidance on the procedure.
Okay,
All right.
so
Somebody want to
Should we-
put that verbiage into a motion? Shall we move
I
to
can,
go with state guidelines relative to the opening of I don't know, gun shops? Is that accurate, Tom?
Yeah, if there is any state guidance, they may not issue any.
Oh, okay, all right.
But, that it's like, we abide by the federal court ruling, and should there be any additional state guidance, we'd abide by that guidance as well.
Okay.
right, well,
Do I hear,
I'll
I'll
make the
second.
motion. I make a motion that we abide by the federal, because of the federal court rulings and any possible state guidance, we will allow the opening for gun sales of at Cabela's as long as they follow all COVID-19 protocols. And that Chief Galvin will be the main contact for them, and if they should do well.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Bobby,
Aye,
Sue,
Aye.
Paul, aye. Excellent.
All right.
From where I sit, that concludes this meeting. Any final comments, words of advice? Somebody giving free tickets for a trip away from here?
Margaret said, she just raised her hand. She must
Yeah, I
have-
know. I just saw Margaret's hand.
I'd only take a trip to somewhere where we get no signal whatsoever. Totally disconnect. No, I just wanted to
You're
let,
so wise.
I just wanted to let the Board of Health know that I followed up with Town Council yesterday
Oh, yes.
on the issue at Riverbridge. I have not heard back yet, so I'm going to get back in touch with them again today to find out where they're at with reviewing the concerns the Board of Health has. So I will let you know as soon as I hear back.
Okay. Appreciate that.
thank you.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye,
Bobby?
aye.
Aye. Pursuer Guerra.
All
Okay.
right. This concludes